Decisions are made within the IEP team by consensus. It's never a vote. So there should never be a time that 3 or 4 people are in agreement and you're in disagreement and the 3 or 4 people's decision would hold. At the end of the day, the school district is obligated to develop an IEP and make a proposal that they believe is appropriate for your child. But you do have the right to disagree. And if you disagree with a decision that gets made after you've had a chance to contribute to the discussion, there are a number of ways that you could handle that. The first, probably best way, would be to ask the school district if they're interested in mediation. Mediation is a process that's voluntary for both parties and would allow for you to come back to the table with an independent mediator who would not make a decision like a judge would make, but would help everybody find some common ground and decide if there's a way to make a decision that everybody could be happy with. Sound Options Mediation is the Washington State approved mediation service that's free to families and school districts. An additional resource for parents in the state of Washington is to contact the Office of the Education Ombudsman. The Office of the Education Ombudsman is seated in the governor's office, specifically to be independent from the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, which is our state education agency. It's a very unique model to be able to deal with conflict and help families and school districts resolve their concerns in hopefully a mutually satisfying way, free of charge for families with this statewide service. All a parent would have to do is call, and an ombudsman will be assigned to talk with them. And then once the parents have had a chance to talk about their concerns related to their child's program, with permission, the ombudsman would contact the school district, and there would be some informal mediation that could occur.
Essentially what we had to do after an escalating kind of disagreement was step back and look at what we wanted for our son, whether it was to stay in his home district, something that was close to home and make it work, or place him in a private school, or continue to battle the school district in an effort to win. And for us, the best situation for our son, we thought, was to keep him close to home. So we had to kind of humble ourselves and get back to a place of willingness. And I feel in that situation that it was two sides of the table that both were entering in with a real winning, we must win mentality, and at some point someone had to give. So that's what we did, was just step back and say, hey, we wanted to just kind of regroup and look at what's best for our son. We do want him in this district. We need to figure out how to get his needs met.
The next level of complaint might include an administrative complaint, either to the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, which is called a citizen's complaint, or to the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights. This would be a complaint about your child's lack of access to services under the civil rights statutes. Your last level of intervention would be to request a due process hearing. Due process hearings are like trials. They're very formal, and you may need to have an attorney. Due process hearings usually deal with families' concerns about the appropriateness of their child's program or lack of services that were not allowed to be provided, were not agreed to by the school district that the parent has requested. In order to ask for a due process hearing, you go on the website for OSPI, and there's a very simple form that you can fill out. It's important to remember that all of your issues should be included in that request, because once the hearing request is made, the issues that are determined in that first pre-hearing conference are the only issues that will be decided in your due process hearing.
It can be extremely confusing. It can be very, very intimidating. But the more knowledge you have for yourself and for your child, the better off you'll be, and the more proactive you are. I've seen families go through the special education process on the other end of when there's a problem, then we work on it, and that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is get there before the problem starts. It saves you so much time and energy, and so we always help our parents to understand how being proactive can be so much better.
At the end of the day, it's really about the relationships that families have with the teachers and the therapists and the people that work with their child every day. And a lot of times families will contact me and they've looked through the regulations and they're very aware of what their rights are. And sometimes the focus on that isn't as productive as on a day-to-day basis, what's happening with your child that's making you concerned, and what are some of the solutions that you might have. And so it's important to really focus on communicating very specifically the impact on your child that you're seeing, the impact on your family you may be seeing with the program that's happening, and then making sure that you take the time to build relationships with the people on your team so that you can have a conversation about that.